Okay, now continuing the discussion related to the checkpoint, whatever we hold during the discussion related to the logging, we hold the discussion related to checkpoint. Now coming to continuation of this, we know that logging is nothing but description of the changes whatever happening in the database. In database, for the respective object, either table or index, any object, any pages, whatever operations happening, for that operation we are maintaining the record description, that is nothing but the logging. We know initially only the log record is added to the disk. We already covered that through in order to make durable by the wall ahead mechanism, we need to first we need to add log record in the disk, then actually data file which for which the data is changed or written to the disk later by some operation, that is nothing but checkpoint. With this operation, whatever data change in the file we are writing at certain duration. First we are writing the log record to the disk for the respective operation. Okay, but in some cases the buffer pool is under memory pressure, so at the time it may be have forcefully write the data pages before it gets the time to checkpoint need to hit. Checkpoint is periodically taking the data, but whenever we get the memory pressure, so forcefully writing the data pages before it get the time to checkpoint by the help of lazy writer. The main goal of lazy writer is free up the memory by writing the least recently used dirty pages to the disk. Okay, this point may be somewhat confusion. We go to the study this point later. Okay, but the main thing is lazy writer is not responsible for recovery purpose, flushing the data, not for the recovery purpose. Recovery purpose is done by whom is checkpoint. It is a periodically, okay, checkpoint will take the responsibility. Lazy writers work independently of transaction and does not generate log record when it is writing pages. One point here is checkpoint will flush whatever the data pages. For that pages, it check whether log record is updated or not. If log record is not updated, then first log record is flushed. Log record must be flushed. Then checkpoint is doing. Before checkpoint, it also create one log record related to the checkpoint operation. We said that for each operation log record is doing. For checkpoint also log record is creating. That log record also flushing. But for lazy writer, log record is not creating. Okay. Now coming to the point related to the checkpoint. Okay, we know that we have scenario that data file is not yet written to the disk, but we are saying that the transaction is committed. This is our scenario. What our scenario is, data file is not yet written to the disk, but we are giving to the client that your transaction is having durability. Okay, why we are giving that scenario, yet it is not stored in where? File, hard disk. The reason is, we have two reasons. One is to reduce crash recovery time. Checkpoint is needed to reduce crash recovery time. Second reason is to reduce number of IOs. These are the two reasons. Okay, what is to reduce crash, how it is doing crash recovery? Okay, because we already said that data file is not yet written. For each operation, whatever operation done by the transaction, that transaction make some modification to the data. That data is not yet written. Only what it is written to the disk is log record. So, okay, but whenever application is crash or suddenly half, at the time what it is doing from the log file, Whenever application is started from the log file, what it is doing, it is redoing the process. That process is nothing but the recovery. Okay, that process may take time. In order to application started, it check log data and log data file and data file, log file and data file. The log file and data file is not synced at the time. It check that log file is contain the transaction committed log records, not uncommitted log records. It contain committed log records that make some recovery mechanism will start. Okay, to reduce that recovery mechanism, we have to, the purpose of recovery mechanism is to maintain updation of the data file. Okay, we know that. So to reduce that recovery mechanism, if anything crashes happen, we initially periodically we are flushing the data file also. Okay, to reduce recovery time, redo phase, log records are written immediately, but data pages are not yet written to the disk at the time of committing. Therefore, memory may contain some recent version of data pages. Then on the disk, memory we know whatever it contain recent data. If a system crash, SQL server must redo or replace some transaction to bring disk data up to date. Okay, checkpoint what it do, it reduce the amount of work needed during crash recovery by periodically flushing the dirty pages to the disk. Okay, that first, to reduce the crash recovery we cover. Next is to reduce the number of IO. Let us take any transaction is committed. Okay, to the transaction it done some modification to a particular page. So either it inserted a row or it do some modification, it deleted some data. Imagine the case where a single data page is very hot inside the SQL server, and for that page thousands of update transaction done to it in a very small amount of time. Okay, thousands of update. Does it make more sense to write the data page to disk after every one of those change? In fact, 1,000 times after every one of those record, every one of those 1,000 transaction commit? Or does it make more sense to write it just once after a certain period of time during a checkpoint operation? Okay, this is the scenario. This is our page. Already I think we covered that point. This is the page. In that page having certain rows. Let us take it is contain 1500 rows. Okay, and let us take for API it is getting 1000 requests by user. So each user is updating their respective row in the same page one time by a transaction. Okay, one time transaction is done by each user, that making as a committed. That transaction committed data need to be updated in data file. Okay, this is the one transaction is completed. After that another transaction is done. Okay, another transaction by another user. Let us take 1000 users are committing the data at a time either parallelly or sequentially, but the delay of duration between 1000 is 1 second only. Let us take in 1 second 1000 are users are hitting the transaction. Transaction, each transaction is updating the respective user details, but the respective user is contained in the same page. This 1000 users data is contained in the same page. That means 1000 times this page is updation. So this is the case here we are saying for each time user is updating the same page, different user is updating the same page, whether it is a good for each time commit, we have to, that is make more sense to write the data page to disk after every one of those change, in fact 1000 times after every one of those 1000 transaction, or does it make more sense after a certain period of time during a checkpoint operation? Okay, here we avoid the thousands IO operation by delaying 1 minute 1 second, but crash is happening, nothing will be gone, already log record is there in hard disk. Now coming to the implementation, this is hard disk and this is our application, and this contain cache or buffer contain pages. Okay, it may be hundreds of pages available, maybe in RAM only, and for each pages application need to do certain operation. So application need to scan what operation it is doing, maybe LRU mechanism, least recently used, or it need to know whether it is dirty, it need to know how much free space is available, how much free space, and either it is dirty or not, and this page is belonging to which database. Like that, these are the regular things which require for different data layer operation with respect to the page. So each time if it need to check whether it is dirty or not, each time it need to scan the cache of all pages whether it is dirty or not. Okay, otherwise how much free space is there, it needs to know each time what page is free. Like that, it cannot do scan, it just create one object, that object is buf object. For each page one buf object is maintaining, that contain the how much free space, whether it is updated or dirty or clean, how much duration last recently used, and like that these contain the details of the respective page. It will help for different operations related to respective page management operation. Okay, this is buf, maybe something buf structure model. Okay, so each page in buffer pool maintaining separate buf model. Okay, whenever anyone know the status or some metadata of the respective page, just need to check the buf. छः के अंदर आया कई को तो मैं पिछले गाना तो जाऊँ जाना पैकिंग करना पड़ा काम है. Okay, now coming to our discussion related to pages, like what is dirty pages and clean pages. Dirty pages is nothing but the one that has been changed and the changes has not yet returned to the disk. In order to drop the pages from the memory, that page must be clean. Clean page is the one that has not changed since it was last recorded from the disk or returned to the disk. Okay, the final thing I need to discuss is checkpoint write all its dirty pages to the database of a disk. First, what it is doing, pages are marked as a dirty as soon as their data is changed. It doesn't matter the transaction that made the change is committed or uncommitted, but when the page is dirty at the time of checkpoint is going to take all the dirty pages of the memory and then forward to the disk. The dirty bit on the page is clear and then it's a clean page again. and it is a clean page again. So whenever the checkpoint is happening, creating a log record, the checkpoint is started. Write another log record which store the some information related to transaction log at the time when checkpoint is created. Write all 30 pages to the disk, making sure that well adhered. Mark the LSN number of the start of the checkpoint in the boot page of the database. At the